It's back to school season, and that means mom and dad are probably excited for back to school season. It also means the doctors and physicians at sports-related facilities and ERs are bracing for, well, perhaps a rise in business. From the Gatehouse Media Studios, I'm Dave Morris, and I'm joined by Gatehouse National Data reporter Daphne Chen. Hi, Daphne. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is a fascinating story you're working on, and a whole bunch of data across the nation taking a look at back-to-school sports activities and injuries.
Yeah, it's 20 years worth of data that is collected by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. That includes everything related to a sports injury. And so that's why we decided to look at when kids are getting injured while playing sports.
Let me ask you about that, Daphne. Let's talk about the sports injuries. What type of injuries are we talking about here?
Well, you see a huge peak in September, and half of that is due to football alone, which, as you know, is a fall sport. We also see soccer and volleyball injuries spiking with the football injuries in September as well.
So there's a bit of a correlation. Hey, it's this time of year. Here's what's going on, meaning football, softball, soccer. And as a result, the ER visits are rising.
Yeah, it's something that sports medicine physicians actually prepare for. We talked to one guy who said August is my last reprieve because in September, that's when those injuries start rolling in. And it's also kind of interesting because these injuries, like in football, happen more towards the beginning of the season. And doctors say that's because, people tend to just overtrain, jump right back into it, even though their bodies aren't conditioned for it. And, we see these early injuries early in the season, even at really high levels of play, not just in high school and middle school, but even at the NFL.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Daphne. We're talking about September, back to school, the start of football season perhaps, and a spike in injuries, and if it tailed off as the season went on, and it sounds like that's the case.
Yeah, we tend to see that. And, even in the NFL, they're talking about these early season or preseason injuries and whether they need to put in some more regulations to account for that. We see the same kind of pattern with youth playing sports.
Well, you mentioned pattern, and that's exactly what you look at data for, is trends. And perhaps one of the trends is participation.
Yeah, a lot of parents have been worried lately about, injuries, especially in sports like football, concussion injuries, overuse injuries. There's also a rise in interest in other kinds of games like online gaming or video gaming. So a lot of sports have been seeing a decline in participation, according to the experts I've talked to. They say that the awareness of injury is a good thing, but they still want to encourage kids to play sports. The alternative is, kids are playing Fortnite at home.
Perhaps we'll see that, right? Some carpal tunnel injuries or something related to Fortnite. Have you seen any sort of laws, and perhaps that's something as we look through this data you consider locally, is what laws have changed, perhaps requiring more helmets or whatever, in regards to the data?
Yeah, it's a big discussion. It's different in every state, but there are a lot more laws about training that coaches need to have, especially at the high school level, especially in contact sports like football, helmet wearing, things like that. But it is pretty local, and I'm not super read up on that.
She's Daphne Chen. She's Gatehouse Media National Data reporter. You can follow her reporting every day online at Twitter at Daphne Chen _, and we certainly appreciate your time. It's an amazing amount of data you have gone through here. You mentioned 2 decades worth.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Thank you so much, Daphne.
Thank you. Take care.